When I think of the reasons I love Chihayafuru, a vast variety come to mind. Its interesting themes, delightful cast, compelling aesthetic, but one thing that ties all this together to create a show that I can sit down to watch and, before I know it, 12 episodes have passed, is the sound. This breathless moment-to-moment quality that causes the show to keep me engaged at every moment. Not a lot of shows have the honor of being known for their good sound design, as the generally accepted notion is that effective sound design is by its very nature the kind you won't notice or think about, which leads to the sparse few occasions that it is discussed being with regards to when it is so egregious that people do notice it. There are a few exceptions to that. Series like Serial Experiments Lain and Technolize come to mind as examples that are brought up specifically with reference to the soundscape crafted. In the case of those shows, the atmosphere is intentionally oppressive and the soundtrack fairly minimalistic. Often it feels like it is meant to weave in with the sounds of the world itself, as if it is yet another sound within it. The dialogue is sparse, the characters cold, the narrative unclear, and you are often left to sit on a particular piece of visual imagery even while there is not much movement or action unfolding. So with all those elements either so static that your attention wanders elsewhere, or so complex that they can't be immediately unpacked, the sound of the world you're in becomes the most immediately accessible. Which makes a lot of sense, seeing as the element of atmosphere is what I would describe as one of the core appeals for both shows. Chihayafuru, however, is diametrically opposed to those examples in almost every way. The characters are upfront, engaging, and talkative. The soundtrack is a constant stream going from one memorable, dynamic, and melodically driven track to the next. Even the visuals, in spite of it relying heavily on expressive stills more so than animation to create strong imagery with the fairly intricate design work, is remarkably animated, for lack of a better word. Everything is filled with motion, complexity, some sort of shine or glimmer. It's straightforward but packed with something new to look at every second. So why did I find myself so drawn to the sound in particular? Perhaps it's my bias due to the fact that I have read the manga past where the anime is at, so thus I'm more attentive since the direct story itself is something I'm already familiar with. But to be honest, it's been so long since I read it that it's not all that clear in my memory, so I don't think that's the reason why. What I think is one particular reason is because of the narrative importance of sound itself within Chihayafuru. The game they play, Karuta, relies on a wealth of strategic elements that I won't delve into here, but at its most simplistic it is a game where one must quickly touch the card that is being read. Thus, those with good ears and the ability to quickly translate what they hear into action have a clear advantage. Our protagonist, Chihaya, is among those who is especially exceptional in her hearing ability, and we meet several others with similarly skilled hearing, those able to seemingly hear the sound before the sound itself. It's not just about quickness, though, the different qualities of sound are highlighted too. Karuta is played with a collection of ancient poems, and in the competition these are recited in a traditional style known as shigen. Elements of pitch, rhythm, and vibrato are all at play. Poetry recitation is in itself an intricate art, and being able to effectively discern and adapt to the differences in style between readers is yet another method that the players in Chihayafuru use to gain advantage. Because the sport is so closely tied to art, we get to highlight the artfulness of a medium expressed through sound. We see the characters train their ears, and I think it's inevitable that subconsciously our ears start perking up a little bit too. So sure, we can appreciate the sound, but that wouldn't mean anything if it was merely mediocre. Chihayafuru honestly is almost overwhelming in its use of sounds. Every moment and visual cue is punctuated by an audio accompaniment, lending it that very breathless, dreamy quality that makes it feel like you can't turn away for a single second. The sounds are almost always beyond reality, but that serves the show well as it wants to turn this game of cards into a fantastical battle of wills. As you're bombarded with sounds from every angle, pulled deeper and deeper into each closed-off individual's perspective it is jumping between, it serves only to make it all the more impactful when the sound cuts out. This contrast between the tonal twinkles and shimmers with the percussive thump of hands and cards against the stiff tatami mat reverberating through the hall is a thrilling back and forth. This constant push and pull between one's inner mind and outer reality, as these wars being waged are a matter of one's utmost capability in both departments. The soundtrack definitely plays a big role here as a part of the sound design, as it fits in perfectly with the often similarly musical choice in sound effects, and is given a lot of room to breathe and take the spotlight. Very rarely does it feel like any piece is being cut off abruptly to accommodate a change in a moment's tone. Rather, it feels like the show itself is following suit with the flow of the music and sounds as one entity. This sense of unity is definitely part of what makes it so consistently engaging, as dissonance, when two elements don't fit just right, is what more often than not pulls us out of the moment. As I said, there's many other elements that I love and appreciate about Chihayafuru, but this is one small aspect that I found myself strangely drawn to, especially coming back to the show to catch up on its third season. And if there's anything that deserves a bit more respect and admiration, it certainly is sound design. Thanks for watching. I know I may not have gone as in-depth into the specifics of how the sounds themselves function as you might have wanted, but I found how the sound works within the show on a broader level to be more interesting, and hopefully a bit more accessible. If you enjoyed this video, consider sharing, subscribing, and leaving a like, and if you want to help support what I do, then you can become a patron of mine with the link in the description and be joined by all these lovely people who are scrolling by right now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.